Hi, I'm Owen, the host of the Australian Finance Podcast. This podcast is proudly sponsored by BetaShares, one of the leading providers of ETFs here in Australia. Serving thousands of financial advisors and over 1 million investors, BetaShares manages tens of billions of dollars on behalf of investors right across the country. I'm proud to partner with BetaShares on the Australian Finance Podcast, Australia's premier financial podcast, because there is great alignment in the long-term philosophy shared by both businesses. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Australian Finance Podcast.
Hi, I'm Gemma Mitchell and welcome to this Wednesday bonus episode on the Australian Finance Podcast. These ones we like to keep super short, sharp and shiny, and it's always a pleasure to be joined by one of our favourites, a regular on the show, Emma Edwards. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you again for having me back.
We're very happy to have you back. So for those who aren't familiar with Emma, she is the author of Good with Money, a book that came out a couple of years ago now, but has a brand new book out, and this is called The Wardrobe Project. This is all about, well, we're going to dive into it, but it's about essentially spending less consumerism. But on this short episode today, we're going to dive into 5 practical tips to spend less, but really highlighting that it's not always about spending less, it's about spending right. But let's jump into it. Emma, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm always up for a chat about spending. And yeah, a bit like you said, sometimes it's spending less, but often it's just spending better.
Absolutely. So let's dive in. We are going to get from you your top 5 tips to spend either less or better, whichever it is, but it can have a big, big impact on our cash flow, but also, as we discovered in your book and the podcast that you did around your book, also on your mindset and your habits. But let's dive into it. What is tip number 1?
Tip number 1 is work out your spending values or your money values. I have an exercise for this because people are like, I don't know what I value.
Where do you start?
What are my values? It's funny when you ask people and they're like, oh my God, I have no idea. And it's funny, spending gets a bit of a bad rap in the personal finance world, I think. I think it's often overlooked because they're like, well, rich people don't care what they're spending. So, you've got to make your money grow rather than just spend it.
Deprivation kind of attitude towards it.
Yes, but they do. A lot of them just out-earn what any normal person could possibly spend. So I think as normal people, everyday people, we paying attention to where your money goes really does matter. And when it comes to values, it's, it'll be hard to live your life in a way that makes you happy if you didn't know what you valued. It'll be hard to make decisions about your life if you didn't know what you valued. So it's the same with money. If you don't know what you value money for, how do you expect to save it, grow it, all of that kind of stuff? So I have an exercise for this. What I get people to do is write down 3 of the best things they've ever spent money on. It can be a thing, it can be an experience, it can be anything. And then you write sort of a few lines about that thing, not describing it. It could be a trap to describe the thing. People kind of go, oh, it's my mug. And they're like, it's really sturdy. And I'm like, no. Think about how it makes you feel. Why is it the best thing you've ever bought? Sell it to me. Mm-hmm. And then go through and highlight the key words in those 3 passages and draw out the commonalities, because there will be some commonalities. We can do this in reverse as well. So if there's things that you spent money on that you regret spending money on, we can look for the commonalities in those as well. And they're sort of your anti-values. So the things that I really value in my spending are calm and ease and, to a degree, luxury and care and that sort of thing, which is why I really like spending money on, my favorite luxury would be a night in a hotel. My favorite convenience would be paying for parking. I can't get enough of it. People will drive around the block looking for free parking. I'd rather just pay and be close to where I want to be. But at the same time, you won't ever catch me at a music festival. I would never, because it's not a value of mine. Those kinds of experiential things in that genre, not for me. $20 of parking in the CBD, sign me up. Because I value that ease and that convenience. I'm not the type of person that's going to sacrifice comfort to do more excursions on a holiday, for example. And holidays are a really good example, and travel is a really good example of this. People go, oh, I don't really know what I value. But you do, because you know very well when you're on holiday with someone that has different values to you. So really working out the commonalities in those things and then trying to build that into the way you make spending decisions and the way you even build out your budget. I allocate a lot of money to things like seeing my osteo regularly, like preventative healthcare, which is obviously good sense in a wellness perspective, but it comes into that calm and that convenience and that care for me, having money available for that. But again, you won't catch me skydiving or anything like that. No, adventure is not a big thing for me. Travel isn't even really a huge value for me. I'm much more of a homebody, and that is really reflected in my spending.
I think that is so important. We want to make sure that we're really clear on what our values are, and they're okay to change as well. They can absolutely change, and this is why we need to go through reflective exercises like this as we have different versions of us. Love it.
100%.
Okay. Tip number 2.
Tip number 2 is sort of on the flip side to that, identify your triggers for spending. Because this is usually where we're spending in more of an unhelpful way, because if something has triggered us, it means that we're not in control of that behavior, or we're not making that decision ourselves. So in my book, Good with Money, my first book, I talk about the 3 sort of phases of a spending decision. So there's the activation zone, which is where the trigger happens. This is when you're just living your life and something pops up and suddenly you want to spend money on something that maybe you didn't know existed 5 seconds ago. Maybe it's
and you
an
have to
ad.
have it. You cannot live without it.
Gotta have it. It's about so much more than the thing and the amount. It's about what it's going to do for your life. It's about how it's going to make you feel. There's an urgency to it. Talk a lot in the Wardrobe Project about urgency, actually, and how it's an indicator of mindless buying. The next zone is the decision zone. So that's that split second where we decide we're going to have it. And then there's the reflection zone afterwards. And that's everything that we feel afterwards. There might be a crash. If it's a good purchase, it might be something that we're, pleased with after we're reaping the rewards of. But understanding what prompts you to enter that process is really helpful, because that's how we can understand where our decisions are maybe being hijacked by modern marketing, modern consumerism, and then sort of further adding fuel to the fire with our emotions and our aspirations, I suppose.
Absolutely. But yes, we need to know what the triggers are that then start that roller coaster and a spiral for a lot of us.
Yes, I call it a spending runway in a lot of cases, where a spending decision kind of gains momentum and it leads to another and another and another. There can be emotional triggers, there can be circumstantial triggers. A really popular one is when you're going on holiday. You pop out for some sun cream and then you come back with a hat, some new swimwear,
you need the new outfit for the person you're going to be on holidays.
Exactly.
Every single time. And then I promise myself, well, I bought them now, so next holiday I won't need to buy anything.
And yet.
Never works.
No, the travel pillow from last time, don't know her, frankly. Do not know her.
All right, tip number 3.
Tip number 3 is a rule that a lot of people connect with, and it's really good for really anything that you're spending money on. It's called the ultimate rule. And it prompts you to contextualize your buying decisions in terms of what you're giving up by buying something. So the ultimate rule kind of prompts you to go, if I were buying this thing, I'm going to go and seek out the ultimate version of this thing. So if it's a black blazer, if it's a pair of headphones, if it's a watch, because there is so much available to buy, you could Google gold watch and be presented with 1,000 shopping options that are all good enough. And so when we have an immediate itch to scratch, it's really easy to just go, see, want, buy, done. And then we end up with a collection of stuff that we haven't really thought through. Maybe you didn't really want a watch. You just saw someone wearing one and thought, oh, that might be nice, and I don't have it. God forbid, I better have one. Or you did want the watch, but 3 months later, you find one that is perfect.
Yeah.
And it's actually in this little shop in Greece and you're on a holiday and it would hold loads of memories if you had that. So you buy that as well, and now you have 2 watches and you've paid for it twice. And often this can happen, you had 10 blazers, whatever. Yeah. So the ultimate rule is, would I be happy with this being the last version of this I ever buy? Of course, it doesn't have to be the last version, but it gets you to think, am I making concessions for this just to get to the good bit?
Yeah.
Skip ahead to the dopamine.
Get it off your list because I want it now, and get it done, get the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like more, will this be the absolute ultimate if I had to shop around for ages? Is this the one that I would have picked?
Yes. It's really helpful for clothing because there are so many, especially in women's clothing, there are so many variations of everything.
Yeah.
If you're looking for, particularly workwear that might be, fairly plain or smart or conservative to a degree, you might kind of go, I want a black blazer. Oh, this one will do. And then you go, oh, I actually prefer that one, but I've bought this one now.
Yeah.
But that one's really nice and it's on sale, so I'm going to get it.
This is what annoys me through seasons, though, that they slightly tweak, or we now have an extra pocket, or we now have an extra button, and this is the fashion. And you're like, well, now mine's not
trend. Well, I actually heard a stylist say this once on social media. When we're trying to build a timeless wardrobe, we often buy, the basics, the classics, the staples, but she was like, they're the things that change the most.
They change. Like, I remember a trench coat. I spent a lot of money on a classic trench coat. And like I have had it for probably 5 years or so, but now the style has changed. I'm like, so it's not even a classic. Like that changes.
You have to decide what a classic is for you.
For you. Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable wearing that trench coat when wool coats are the trend.
Yeah.
Or wearing that short coat when long coats are the trend.
So it's knowing yourself so well, which is exactly what the wardrobe project's about.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, I'm actually going to adopt that rule. That's going to work well for me. Tip number 4.
Tip number 4 is what I call the ins and outs method. So a while ago on social media, there was a trend of, it'll probably come around again with the new year, people saying their ins and outs for the year. Like in is, spending in alignment with your values. Out is minus spending. Ins and outs is a method for having everything that you want, but not all at once. A line that I wrote in my first book, Good with Money, that people message me probably weekly about is you can have anything you want, just not everything you want. So ins and outs kind of gives you a foundation for that. So each month or each quarter, you kind of review where you're spending your money and you bring things in and you push things out. So there's a lot of things to spend your money on. It works really well if you don't have a ton of money coming in. Some people are making 150, 200 grand a year. They probably don't need the ins and outs that much. But when you're working with much more tightly squeezed salary, as so many people are at the moment with everything being so much more expensive, you might kind of go, I'm never really satisfied with what I'm getting for my money because I can't go to Pilates, which is something I really want to work on. I can't have my coffee. I can't have brunch with my friends on the weekends. I can't go to the movies with my kids. But if we have ins and outs, we can kind of go, okay, this month I'm going to book myself in 3 Pilates classes, but we're going to do brunch at home. And then next month, we can bring the brunch in and push out something else. Nails. I'm being very frivolous with my examples. Yeah. But it's also really fun to do if you have children because kids want everything all the time. But you can kind of go, no, that next month is soft play month. This month is sandcastles at the beach for free. And it can be quite a fun game of what's coming in and what's coming out because it allows you to have this mindset of room for everything. You just got to fit it in like Tetris. Yeah.
That's one of my major savings tips that I talk to people is, rotating what you cut. So like this month, you're not going to pay any takeout, buy any takeout. Next month, it's no online shopping, whatever. And you can really game the system because you can pick it around your social calendar. Yeah. I'm totally on board with that one. Ins and outs. Love it. Tip number 5.
Tip number 5 is I call it Frugal Bitch Week. You can call it frugal, whatever you like. Frugal Bitch Week. This is, you can do this once a month. You can do this once a quarter. Whenever you feel like things are a bit crazy, whether it's through you being a bit, when you get those hectic weeks and you're at the airport and you have all these incidental spends that you wouldn't normally have. When we just kind of go Frugal Bitch Week, it's like a circuit breaker. You don't have to do it for 7 days. You can do it for 5 or even 3. We just cut all of those runways those open loops that have started. And we just go, let's just do everything right to the bare minimum this week. Let's cook from the pantry. Let's get the train instead of getting an Uber. Let's, not go and I don't know if anybody else is like this, but when I have no plans on a Saturday, it's literally a flip of a coin of whether that is a no plans and I spent no money and I stayed at home and I did crafts, or I popped out and accidentally somehow spent $250 on just random impulses.
Yeah.
So we make sure that doesn't happen. We stay in, we do the things that we say we've been meaning to do for ages. And it's just like a reset. Now, strategically, if your income is very pinched at the moment, it can be really helpful in basically squeezing your discretionary spending for the month. You only really discretionary spend for 3 weeks. So then you kind of get another week out of your budget.
Yeah.
I used to do this when I was earning very little. I would kind of have, I called it financial fasting at the time because it reminded me of intermittent fasting with eating. I'd have 1 week of the month where I just wouldn't do any social spending. I wouldn't buy things. I wouldn't buy my coffee on the way to work. I'd bring it in a flask because I didn't want to do that all the time. I liked buying my coffee. But 1 week a month, I just spent as little as I could. And it kind of allowed me to have more money in those 3 weeks and do more restriction in 1 week. So that's kind of my reset point now. If things have got a bit out of control or I want to just funnel a bit more money, I do it before a trip as well. I'm going to the UK over New Year. So in a couple of weeks leading up to that, I'll be like, if I just don't do this for a week and I just really, really tight, I can put like an extra $100 in my holiday fund. And then I'm kind of thinking, oh, you know, instead of having a pizza on a Friday night or something, I'll just cook something from the freezer. And then I can sort of see myself on that trip enjoying something
that
to the same value. And it makes such a difference. It's 1 week of sacrifice.
Yeah.
But it can free up, you know, if your discretionary spending is $100, $200 a week, as it is for some people, it can free up a lot.
Yeah.
Just by having 1 week where you go, I can't this week.
Yep. And it's not saying that you're never going to do it again.
No.
Or taking a year not to buy clothes. You just say this week, I'm not going to. I love that. Okay. So the 5 tips to get you spending less or spending right, which is a big point here, is knowing your values, knowing your triggers. You went through the ultimate rule, which I absolutely love taking that on board. The ins and outs, frugal bitch week, or financial fasting, whichever the editors want to keep in.
Yeah.
But I love both. Emma, thank you so much for joining me. For people that need a bit of a financial reset with their spending, the Wardrobe Project is out now. And you also have Good with Money, which is an amazing book about behavioral finance spending things as well. So I will link both of those in the show notes. Emma, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching this episode of the podcast. If you want to hear more from us, you can get daily videos and podcasts on Rask's YouTube channel. Or if you want to enroll in a free course on investing, property, business, money, you name it, you can join over 34,000 other students and enroll in a free course on the Rask website. Simply head to www.rask.com.au and follow the prompts. Thanks for watching this Rask podcast.